Judaism, there's many areas that are ambiguous. There's some areas that are not. They're black and white. But I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 times when people argue in the Jewish world, it's on ambiguous notions, things that shouldn't even be argued upon or about. So that's probably something you have never heard. But yeah, I try to call it like I see it, and that's I think why people like watching my videos because I keep it real. Uh, with, I mean, at the expense of me being tortured in the Jewish world for not having a filter, because they're like, why are you telling everyone our secrets or our problems? But if I didn't, then by definition we would never improve. So let's see. Oh man, I'm skipping all these questions. Let me start from the beginning here until someone wants to hop on. Okay, why did you become Jewish? Okay, so it's no secret. I converted to Judaism 23 years ago. Before I became Jewish, I was a Christian. I went to seminary as a Christian when I was in the army, actually the U.S. Army. I came to the realization that Jesus wasn't God or the Messiah. Where do I go from there? Right. This is before the internet was big, before I even knew much about the Noahide movement, which I think is a primitive movement now to begin with. So I felt Judaism was thrust upon me. I went to my local Orthodox synagogue. Truth is, I went to the show on base. I was stationed in Fort Bragg, and this great rabbi, his name was Rabbi Horowitz. He's the son of Rabbi Baruch Horowitz, the Rosh Hashiva of Devar Yerushalayim. Great Torah scholar. That was my first Shabbat I ever experienced on base in Fort Bragg. And then when I got back home, I went to my local synagogue. It took me around 3.5 years, and I converted. After I converted, I moved to Israel to learn in yeshiva. Then I came back to America. Then I made Aliyah officially, and then I lived in Israel for 5 years. And I was an outreach worker. I worked for a great rabbi named Jeff Seidel. He's probably one of the more popular Jews in the world. He does outreach, and I was an outreach worker. I was a makarev. I would encourage people to Jews. I would encourage Jews to, I mean, specifically birthright kids. You know, kids getting drunk on Ben Yehuda and stuff like that. We try to put them in yeshiva or girls in seminary. So I did that for a few years. And when I was doing that, I had the idea, why can't we do this for Gentiles as well? So, because I know most of my haters, I would say 80% of the hate I get online is because Jews are always telling me Jews don't proselytize. It's true. Nowadays, Jews may not proselytize, but there's nothing against proselytizing in Judaism. And this is why I'm doing this show. I want rabbis to come on here and challenge me. There's nothing in Jewish law that tells you that you cannot encourage someone to consider becoming Jewish, entering the covenant, you know, loving God to such an extent that God willing that they would want to convert. It's logical. This is what we want to do. We want the world to be Jewish. We want the world to be sensitized because there's strength in numbers. And to deny that is really to whistle past the graveyard. Okay, it's ultimately a numbers game. If you don't impact the world will impact you. We want more Torah Jews. We want more Torah Jews. Duh. You'd have more kosher restaurants, cheaper tuition. If you're single, you would have more people to choose from, right? In terms of a spouse or people to date, whatever is, you know, whatever tickles your pickle. Hold on one second. Yeah. So if you're listening to me today, let's see. Okay, we only have 31 people in here, but I'll repeat it later. Consider becoming Jewish. It might be for you. Now, you don't have to be Jewish. And that's where the misconception is. They're like, well, we're not Christians. Well, I get that, right? A Christian would tell you, believe this or go to hell. I'm not telling you you have to believe in Judaism or convert to Judaism in order to get to heaven. No, just like I'm just letting you know that you could convert. The vast majority of people who come on this TikTok or on my podcast don't know that you can convert, specifically Muslims. I think last night I had like 3 Muslims come on, and then I asked them the same question, right? When they're trying to prove to me that my religion is wrong and there is a superior, I asked them, do you know that you could become Jewish? And they're like, of course you can't become Jewish. You have to be born from a Jewish mother, right? So that's partially true, but they missed half the story. You could convert to Judaism. So I think I just do more of a service, just reminding people that conversion is possible. It exists. And that's like 40% of the battle there.